Okay.
So you want to go to your computer settings, not the Zoom settings.
Okay.
That still looks like Zoom. Is that?
No,
okay.
this is it. So disconnect here. And
No,
now it's
they're not
connected.
connected. Yeah. So double click on that.
Now I'm connected.
Okay. So now see if you can find them.
Doesn't even say connected yet. Oh, nope, they disconnected. They're probably dead.
No, they have juice.
They're not connecting. It's okay. It's okay.
Just go with the laptop audio.
It's fine.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Return.
Will you turn off that kitchen light for me?
How do I access your call?
Did StrongSide text you? It texted you with the link.
I might run to Best Buy while you're on that call.
Great. Okay.
Best of luck. You're gonna crush it.
Thank you. I love you too. What am I gonna do about them?
I'm not gonna bother you.
They're not gonna bother me?
I should.
I still want them to bark.
I can go put them up in that room if you want.
Do you want to put them in the bedroom?
Okay.
They'll be happy in there.
Come on, fish your babies.
Okay, I'm gonna start this. Hello. Okay. Hello. Okay. All right. Hey, Heather. You don't have to unmute yourself or play a video or anything. I just see that you're in here. Okay. It is 11 and we'll get started here soon. Just gonna wait for a few other people to come on in. Okay. Hi, Nate. See that you're in here. Awesome. Hi.
We got you hooked up to the sound system over here at Roswell.
Great. Oh God, I can hear myself echoing too.
Yeah, we'll mute.
Who all do you? Hi. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'm just gonna wait a few more minutes to see if some more people come in, and then I'll get started. Nate and Zach, the bloopers video is becoming a huge hit for y'all. You guys are kind of becoming some rock stars there.
We'll make all the bloopers.
It's easy to make those bloopers. They come natural.
Yeah, you guys are really good at it.
Hi, Heather.
She has her video sound off.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
It's fine. How's your day going, guys? Good.
They just peer pressured me into a workout and everything.
Now I'm going to peer pressure him to eat something healthy in a little bit.
I brought my lunch today. Bree, you would be so proud.
Oh, yeah?
Probably chicken sausage, rice, and some type of veggie.
Steak and mixed vegetables with potatoes.
I love it. All the fiber, all the macros. I love it. Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, it is 11:03. And I think, let me make sure no one on Facebook has questions about logging in. Let's see here. All right. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started here. If anyone comes in later, that's okay. They can just jump in. But okay, so I'm gonna share my screen to get started. Let's see here. Okay. Can everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
Great. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people. Ooh, and I have some people coming into the waiting room now. Sweet. Okay, I need to make sure I can see everyone who comes to the waiting room. How do I just let people naturally come in? Okay, I'll just let them in.
Beautiful man in the background.
He's leaving. Okay. All right, I think as we get started, no. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get this together here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. So what we're going to go over today are the 3 pillars of wellness, and I'm going to kind of dive into each of those. But first and foremost, it's really about what why strong side is, okay, all these participants, I need to just naturally come in here. This is going to be crazy. Mute all, play, join. Okay, now everyone can just come. Ooh, please mute that for me. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's do this now. So like I said, let me just start over. Thank you for coming in today. And we're going to go over the 3 pillars of wellness. And with those 3 being, the first pillar is diet, the second one being stress and sleep, and the third one being active lifestyle. And with all of these 3, we'll dive into each one of these individually. And I have, ultimately, I want to give you tips that you can start with right away this week in order to kind of keep these guys in check. And I'll tell you why they're important as well. But first and foremost, what is wellness? That's a pretty broad term. Like when you say, how are you doing? People are like, I'm well, or they say, I'm good. That's a pretty just generic thing. And when we talk about wellness, if you were to Google it, the literal definition is the state of being in good health, especially as an actively pursued goal. So it's something that we have to actively pursue. It's not just something that we achieve like, okay, like, ooh, today I think I hit wellness. Today is health. Health is not a destination that you just reach one day and then stay there. It's something that we have to actively go after every single day. An analogy I really like that Mitchell mentions a lot is you don't keep away cavities because you brushed your teeth, one time. It's because you actually brush your teeth every day for like 2.5 minutes or 3.5 minutes, whichever it is, but it's the active goal every single day to keep up with that oral health. So same thing goes for our everyday health. So I want you to think of health as a vehicle instead, rather than a destination. Health is a vehicle in that if you think about the health of your car, how do you get your car to run? You fill it with fuel that is high quality because you need it to run and take you to where you need it to go. You need that car to be checked up with its oil changes. You can't ignore any of the check engine lights. You need to keep it clean. You need to keep it running. You need to bring it in for its quarterly or yearly tune-ups, keeping up with its health. Because ultimately, when we ask it to drive us to the grocery store or California, we want it to do what we ask it to do, no matter what. Now, if we ignore those check engine lights, if we skip, a couple oil changes, if we don't keep up with filling it with fuel and we let it bottom out in the fuel tank too often, what happens? Our car breaks down over time, and our bodies are no different. Our bodies enact the same exact way, in the way that we fuel it, in the way that we take care of it, in the way that we just keep it in check. So in moving forward with that, I wanted to kind of talk about my own story real quick in reference to these 3 pillars. If you listen to my first podcast with Mitchell a couple months ago, you'll probably know a little bit about my background and my story, where 5 years ago, I was in the worst health of my life. And I was extremely frustrated because, I'm 21 and everyone's telling me that I should be thriving in my 20s and I should be in the best health and I can eat whatever I want and whatever. And that was just not the case for me. So in this next slide, that's a photo of me from 5 years ago. And I look at that picture and I really can't recognize that human, to be honest with you, because here I felt that I was doing everything right. I was eating all of the diet foods where I was eating all high protein, low carb, even low fat, which is what a lot of the diet culture was teaching me to do. And it was whatever was convenient. I was in an extremely stressful lifestyle. I was in school down in Atlanta, and I would commute home. And I also had a job, and I would commute to that job, all in between the three. And I was in complete burnout. I was only sleeping about 4 hours a night, completely strung out. And when it came to my activity level, majority of the day, I was just sitting in front of a computer, working away, completely stressed out, and usually in like dark rooms. But I was working at a computer and a desk all day long. And then when I did make it to the gym, when I mustered up the energy to get there, I would just work out as hard as I could, mostly cardio related, just running on the treadmill until I couldn't run anymore. So much so that I'd be sore for days and not want to come back. And really, that's a lot of what I was being taught with the diet culture that was available. And I couldn't understand why my body fat percentage shot up and why I couldn't build muscle anymore. I couldn't understand why my face was breaking out like crazy and I was carrying all this extra weight. I was a kid athlete, and all of a sudden I became the complete opposite of that. And when so much so, I was in such a poor place. I went and got my hormones tested through a saliva test, and we looked at my cortisol levels, and they looked like the craziest roller coaster you could ride at Six Flags. They were just all up and down, all over the place. And I was prescribed hormones to take progesterone and DHEA, and to help balance out those cortisol levels ultimately. And what happened was, I mean, maybe it helped me have one less panic attack, but none of my habits changed. My lifestyle didn't change at all. I was still eating the quick, convenient diet foods, thinking that all this protein was going to help me lose all of this body fat immediately, when I wasn't pairing it with a healthy, active lifestyle. And I was still only sleeping like 4 hours a night and in complete burnout mode. So all that to say, I'm not going to hurt. This isn't just like a Brie story here, but I wanted to make that story, put that out there to say that I've done the work, and I'm not here to say it's a quick, easy pill to just take and it'll solve all your problems. It's difficult. At no matter what age you're at, whether you're 20 to 26 or 30 to 36, 40 to 46, no matter the age, I think we need to make it less about age and more about our efforts. Because when you're in a lifestyle of restriction, in a lifestyle of stress, and you feel stuck and you're in a rut, it's difficult to get yourself out regardless. And that's really why I wanted to put these pillars together, because so many of these roadblocks can show up in any parts of your life. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive into pillar number 1, which is diet. Now, with diet, I want to talk about the difference between restrictive diet culture and an abundant lifestyle. So something I hear quite often when people come to see me is like, don't take away the foods I love. Like, Brie, have you ever actually had a Big Mac? Like, it's so good. And I'm not telling you it isn't. But I really want to change the story of, rather than thinking about what can't I eat anymore, and change into a what more can I eat? I'm going to be adding more food to your diet. I'm not going to ask you to cut out all of the potato chips that you love to eat. And I'm not going to ask you to cut out all of the cookies at the end of the day. I'm going to ask you to add a serving of broccoli to your dinner. If your diet is all void of vegetables, let's just add 1 serving a day and see where that goes. If we can go ahead and can you just grill chicken for me today so that you have it for the next 2 days? I didn't say cut out Lay's potato chips. I just asked you to grill some chicken. So it's those little baby steps that are going to keep this diet in place, because we're here for longevity. We're not here to set you up for failure. I don't need you to open up a book, check the guidelines to see what you can and cannot eat. Oh, is this a part of my diet? Is this not? That's crazy. We make it more complicated on ourselves than it needs to be. If we simplify the process by just adding in real whole foods into your day, we're changing the story in the way that we're communicating with our bodies. So moving through that, when people follow this plan of eating real food, things begin to change. You know, like I said, I didn't ask you to cut out anything, but adding real food in, our taste buds naturally start to change. You know, I've seen it time and time again where people will eat real food and then they'll eat something out of a box or a package right after. And have you ever noticed that we know the taste of natural and fresh when in comparison to those things out of a box? And you can't quite put your finger on it of what makes something fresh or natural tasting. But there's literally boxes that say all natural and then or straight up artificially flavored. And we have a choice to do that. So I just think that's an interesting concept that we need to remember when looking at this more abundant lifestyle of adding in real food, is kind of taking in what's being communicated to us about what's available, and what our bodies are naturally trying to move towards, and the signals that it's telling us. Okay, so here are some tips that in talking about adding in real food. So because the first objection I typically hear is, Bri, I want to eat real food. That sounds great, but I don't have the time. And I completely understand that. Time is very valuable. And I also live a very busy lifestyle. I am not here slaving away at my stove, creating these glorious meals. I make it as simple as possible for my day. So the first tip is meal prepping. And meal prepping, people, they're like, oh, it's just not my jam. You know, I don't like eating the same thing every day. And I'm not going to ask you to do that. The way I approach meal prepping is on the weekend, I go to the grocery store. That takes me about 45 minutes to an hour, probably an hour if I go to Sprouts because I love the place. But I grab all of the produce and, you know, the proteins that I want to eat for the week, and I bring it home. Okay, that's 60 minutes already. So I come home and I literally set a timer on my phone for another 60 minutes. And when I hit start, I take the job of chopping all of the veggies for that week. So my favorites are Brussels sprouts and broccoli and asparagus and kale, lots of greens and carrots. You know, I take all these raw veggies, I chop them and I put them into containers. And I make sure that there is enough portions for both me and my husband so that when I come home at the end of the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I know I already have those veggies chopped and all I have to do is season them with olive oil, salt and pepper, whatever I want, put them in the oven, put them in the air fryer, and that's it, right? So while I'm chopping, my husband, Zach, is grilling or baking all of the proteins, whether it's chicken or, you know, sausage or, you know, pork loins, marinating them, whatever it is. He's on protein. And then on the stove, all the while, we have quinoa or brown rice cooking, something I just put on the stove and I can go do something else. So in those 60 minutes, as soon as that timer is up, I drop everything and I put everything away, and whatever I got done. It's my responsibility with how busy my week is ahead of me to get those things prepared. So, and then after those, 60 minutes, so 120 total, right? 120 minutes total out of the entire weekend, out of 2 whole days. That's 2,880 minutes in 2 days. And I'm asking you for 120 to strategize and prepare your food to set you up for a win during the week. So that's my first tip, and that was pretty long. But then the second one is real food pairing. So again, going back to, I'm not asking you to take anything out, but let's start adding in real food. So the first thing is, if you're eating a protein bar, that's totally fine. But can you also eat a serving of carrots with it? Or let's say you have a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, that's fine. But can you go ahead and also eat a grilled lean chicken breast with it as well? Or let's say you don't have any time and you stop by like Starbucks and you get a Starbucks breakfast sandwich. That's fine. But can you also ask for one of their bananas that they sell up front too? Bring in those whole real foods gradually. We're naturally going to look for them elsewhere in our days. And we're going to be prepared and excited to prepare them for our weeks as well. And then lastly is focusing on the basics. And when I say that, I'm talking about baby steps, and I'm not ignoring macros and calories. They absolutely have a play here in changing your body composition and achieving different goals. But you can make anything fit into macros and calories. So for example, not to call out my husband, I think he's on this call too, but he told me the other day that his Chick-fil-A French fries fit his macros. That's great, but you're still eating French fries. Like, I'm asking for real unprocessed foods in your diet first, before we even bother about all of the math calculations. You can make ice cream fit into your calorie goal. So rather than trying to trick our bodies with this 100-calorie bag of chips or cookies, why can't we just eat the real food that we were meant to eat first? And then we'll talk about the calculations. So it's just about building those habits. Okay, so moving on to pillar number 2. It is sleep and stress. Who doesn't love to sleep with their pup? Okay, so with sleep and stress here, the biggest things I want to talk about is the rise in our stress levels in our communities. The rise of stress, anxiety, and depression. As these rise, our amount of hours slept as a community are decreasing. And you can see that alone by going into any convenience store, and there is a mess of melatonin products and brands and sleep aids all over the place. Now, if we weren't having issues sleeping, those wouldn't be in your face as soon as you walk into a Target or a Walgreens. And the marriage of sleep and stress are just so intertwined, so much so that if we manage our stress, we'll sleep deeper. And if we can get a hold of our sleep, we'll stress less. Like, it's all of those two guys. When we have a happy marriage between the two, things start to balance out. It's a hormone game. Our hormones have everything to do with the two. And in balancing those out and getting into a rhythm, we can find the natural course that Mother Nature intended us to have with our hormones on a daily basis. So moving through that, what I also want to stress here is, with this rise in stress, it's all too common now where we have lost our ability to manage it. It's words like burnout and adrenal fatigue are big trigger buzzwords nowadays. And so much so that we feel that's just a part of life now. And I'm not saying life, isn't stressful. It absolutely is. And I'm not going to tell you it can all just go away like that. But it's about incorporating management techniques and incorporating good sleep hygiene, where we make those a priority. I think our stress levels and our sleep patterns are so easily neglected in this world that is constantly moving and requiring more from us all of the time. And so because of that, we're building a tolerance. A lot of my clients say like, oh, well, I used to be way more stressed back in the day. Like, this is nothing. I mean, yeah, maybe that's so, but are you still stressed now? And even if it's less stress now, if you have had worse stress in the past, how do you feel now? The physical damage that stress puts on our physical bodies is more immense than we like to admit. When we have stomach aches or headaches, those are already warning signs of our stress levels. And then ultimately, even when you're exhausted from the day, you had the longest day at work and you brought your kids to every practice ever and you got them fed, and you finally get to bed and you lay there staring at the ceiling like, like you're like, why can't I fall asleep now? It's like that second wind kicks in. So that's just to say how sensitive our bodies are to stress and how it changes our hormone levels. And then when we get to bed, our hormone levels are so out of whack that we're not able to get the deep sleep that we're meant to get. So to support that, there was a study done where every year across the United States, there is a 24% increase in heart attacks admitted to the hospital on one particular day. Does anyone have a guess on what that day is during the year? You can unmute yourselves and answer if you want to. No guesses? Okay, that's cool. I'll tell you.
Christmas.
No, it is daylight savings time. There is a 24% increase in patients admitted with heart attacks into the hospital nationwide. And that does not include the patients who didn't make it to the hospital alive. So that can tell you alone how sensitive just losing 1 hour of sleep during that springtime, how sensitive it is to our bodies. And to support this fact, they then looked at daylight saving times when we gained an hour in the fall time. And they had a 21% decrease in heart attacks in the United States on this one day. So if that doesn't explain how sensitive our bodies are to just 1 hour of sleep, I don't know what will. It's so impactful. And just because you've been able to survive on a little amount for so long does not mean we're tricking our bodies to being super people. We are still doing the long-term damage regardless. So I'm going to kind of give tips for stress and then sleep, because our stressy world affects our sleepy world. So the first tip is meditation and yoga for our stress levels. And this one is an easy one to incorporate, but it's so easy to neglect as well, because meditation, you can really do anywhere. Like you could mute me right now and do it right now. Please don't do that. Please stay tuned. But you could absolutely do meditation that way. You know, even downloading the apps Calm or Headspace have had so much success for people who struggle with managing their stress and their anxiety levels. Even if you can just incorporate some 5-minute stretches in the morning or at night into your day, encouraging the turning off your sympathetic nervous system and turning on our parasympathetic nervous system. And what that just means is turning off our fight or flight systems that are on all day when we are chronically stressed. Now, on top of that, even if you can't do that, just deep breaths for 60 seconds in your car to get away from everybody if need be can go such a long way in just activating that parasympathetic nervous system, where we can turn off our fight or flight response and remind our bodies that we don't need to be in protection mode and that we're not being chased by a tiger. The second one is find your me time. And this is a big one, especially for a lot of the older generations where hobbies aren't really a thing for them. You know, especially hobbies that have to do with our hands. Studies show that when we do any recreational activity where it involves movements with our hands and being tangible with the action, it makes us present-minded. So that's why a lot of people use the gym and exercise as their me time. It is their time to just focus on what's happening in the moment, and everything else kind of melts away. So whether it's exercising, coming to class at StrongSide, or if it's journaling or reading or puzzles, or even if you are an artist, or maybe you just like to draw and maybe they're not so great, if you enjoy doing it, adding in those techniques into our days goes such a long way in bringing us back to the present mind, and reminding our bodies that we don't always need to be in protection mode. And the last one is a big topic, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but remembering your why. So with all these facts that I threw at you, heart attack is a really big, outcome from chronic stress, but remembering why you need to manage the stress. past I want to lose weight, or like maybe you really want to see this one number on the scale. That's one thing, but like maybe you want to be more present minded and be the best mom or dad that you can be, or friend that you can be. When we're chronically stressed, we isolate ourselves away from those relationships that mean a lot, from joyous things in our life. And when we're away from joy, that does more detrimental things where stress and anxiety and depression kick in. I love to tell people, joy is a nutrient. Vitamin J is a thing. I mean, it really is. When studies show the physical effects of joy on our physical bodies, I mean, it can cure things. I'm not saying it's curing cancer, but it really puts you in a better direction. So the next one is 3 tips for encouraging sound sleep. So if we can control this stressy world and we can start to manage those stress levels in our day, then we wind down to sleep at night. So the very first tip, let's just get this out of the way. And I tell every one of my clients this, because let's be real, who doesn't wake up in the middle of the night to pee? I hear this all the time. And look, just like you tell your kids so they don't wet the bed, cut off water after dinner time. It's the same thing. So obviously you can sip on it up until bed, but don't be chugging water before bedtime. I know there was a study done where if you drink a glass of water before bed, especially in generations over 40, it can help reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke, but majorly because they weren't hydrated during the day in the first place. So if you can do all of your hydration throughout the course of your day, and then at dinner time, you start to cut off liquids. This includes wine and, alcohol and soda, all of that. You have less of a chance of waking up in the middle of the night because your bladder is about to explode. So that's just the first one. But the second one is cut out junk 30 minutes before bed. And when I say junk, I mean, yes, junk food. So we don't need to be eating right before bed. Having a full tummy of things that it needs to digest does not allow our bodies to go into full rest mode. It's too busy digesting food, so you can't get all the other sleep benefits. So junk food, but then also junk content. With our phones, scrolling through social media, putting those phones down 30 minutes before bed and not, taking away from all of the craziness on Instagram or Facebook with the news and politics and, whatever it is, that's only stirring up more energy and activity in our brains when we need to be in a state of unwinding. And then lastly, the junk light. So junk light means blue light on our phones, on our, computers and tablets, but also our TVs. I know TVs are more often than not in the bedroom, and that's fine, but go ahead and turn it off when you start to get tired, not like at 2 a.m. when you've already fallen asleep. If you turn off the TV and your phone's, away and you're not dealing with the junk light, lay there in the dark horizontally and count to 500. If you can count all the way to 500 and you are still awake, then you can turn on the TV. But besides that, just give your body a chance to do what it naturally knows how to do. So those are those ones. And then lastly, naturally derived sleep aids. So if all else fails, like Bri, I did all the stress techniques, I cut off water, I cut out junk, I'm still just staring at the ceiling and waking up, 3 times a night. Okay, let's talk about some natural supplements. So the first one is magnesium, which is a nutrient that our bodies need no matter what. So we don't get enough magnesium in our food to begin with because of our depleted soils. So doctors across the nation are now recommending magnesium for almost everybody to be on, because it does, if there was ever a vitamin that was kind of like a super pill, I always like to think of it as magnesium, because the 3 big things that it does is, for one thing, it helps us sleep, but then it also helps with muscle and joint achiness and soreness. And then it also helps us poop and have a healthy bowel movement. So all those three things really put us in a good mood if we don't have aching joints, if we have, healthy bowel movements, but then also that we're sleeping. It even helps with restless leg syndrome, which a lot of people deal with at nighttime as well. So magnesium is a great one to bring into your diet because it can supplement so many other chemical reactions in your body. And the second one is just other natural herbal supplements. So things like lavender and chamomile are great. Ashwagandha in particular for women is really great. It helps level out female cortisol levels with all the other things that we have going on as females. They also help encourage a natural sleep pattern. And then lastly, if all else fails, I don't love jumping straight to melatonin right away, only because half of the people I talk to who do use melatonin, they love it and it works great. But then the other half say, well, I wake up in the middle of the night and feel really funky and weird, like I'm still in a dream, or they have really crazy nightmares that make them uncomfortable. So I would say, if all of those first things don't work, then going to melatonin, and then going from 1 to 3 milligrams 2 hours before bed, taking that melatonin then, because that'll give it time to actually reach the brain and move you into a natural slumber. So, okay, that was sleep. Now, let's move into active lifestyle. So this one you guys may be a little more familiar with coming into the gym. We talk about the 5 pillars of functional fitness all the time. And this isn't too far off from that. It's really kind of covering these ideas. So when I say active lifestyle, you do not have to be an athlete to be active. I'm not asking you to be a CrossFit Games athlete like Nate. but I am asking you to move. Many of us today, like I mentioned, so much of our work is on the computer nowadays. And whether you're in an office or you're working from home from the pandemic, so much of us are sitting in this static position at our desks all day. And even if you come into the gym for an hour or 45 minutes, whichever class, and then come home and just sit for the rest of the day, we're not doing our joints and our muscles a whole lot of justice. We get really achy and stiff. How many of you stand up after working all day and you're like, oh my God, like what is wrong with my back or my hips? Oh, they hurt. I mean, that is just telling us that our joints and our ligaments are tightening as we sit in a static position. Okay, so because this goes back, I don't know if you guys remember physics class, but an object at rest will stay at rest and an object in motion will stay in motion. So let's try and stay in motion. I'm not saying you have to take 6 classes a day at StrongSide, but if you are a person that is sitting at your desk all day, setting a timer for 1 hour. I'm really big into timing things. If you set a timer at your desk for 1 hour, and once that 1 hour is up, get up and move. Go walk around your house or your office. Make a point to get outside. Or even just get on the ground and stretch, downward dog or child's pose, whatever is your favorite. Because when we move, we're getting that blood moving and we're going to have more energy. We're going to have more energy to get back to work and keep everything flowing. We're building up those endorphins that are going to encourage us to do more. That alone will just give us the natural energy levels. So, and then here are the 5 pillars of functional fitness that, StrongSide, we are always encouraging with our athletes at the gym. So I think someone is not muted. Let's see, I hear a lot.
It's your husband.
Hey, Zach, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Okay. With the 5 pillars of functional fitness, so the squat, the sit-up, the push-up, aerobic capacity, and cognitive ability, all of those things being what we need every human being to be able to do in order to stay independent and take care of themselves and have a functional lifestyle. this just kind of goes back to wanting to participate in life, and and not just sit all day. If we stay moving, we're less likely to have these aches and pains. We have to move and stretch out our joints and ligaments in order to be able to encourage them to keep stretching and moving in particular ways. So 3 tips in supporting an active lifestyle is make it to class at least 3 times a week at StrongSide. We have classes, from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. like every day, but even if you can just make it to 3 a week, you're going to be able to maintain the weight that you're at, which is great. And we love to tell people, if you make it to class 4 times a week, you'll start to see some physical changes in your body, those bodily compositions. And if you make it to 5 times a week, other people will start to see those bodily changes, which is exciting. That always feels good when someone's like, hey, you look great. And you're like, oh my God, thank you. You're putting in the work, which is great. And like I mentioned, setting that timer when you're sitting for an extended period of time, just to remind you to get up and move a little bit, stretch it out and move your body in ways that's going to feel good. And make time for movement where it makes sense. So if you can't make it to class, if your day is so busy with work, getting kids to practice and off of school and everything else, just making it a priority, whether you have to start your day with just a walk around the neighborhood, awesome. Or if you have to end the day with a walk, awesome. That is still movement, and that still constitutes movement. Your body is gonna be way better off for it rather than just sitting in one position all day, whether it's at your desk or in your car. Your body is gonna really thank you for it. And it's gonna be much easier to keep moving the more that we move. So that is really that's the 3 pillars of wellness, guys. And just recapping all of these things here, these categories came about because when I started working with clients, I noticed there were far more roadblocks than just, I need to eat more broccoli. There was way more than just literal like nutrition of food. People coming in and asking, what can I do to not be type 2 diabetic? I'm pre-diabetic and I'm scared of needles. Or like my biggest, yeah, sure, they want to lose weight, but my biggest fear is that I'm gonna get dementia. It runs in my family. Or I just want to be able to play with my kids. I struggle now and I want to get better. I want to play with them. I don't want to be on the sidelines. And those are literally quotes from a lot of the clients I started to see. And ultimately, these broad 3 pillars and keeping them in check in your own life will ultimately keep you from just surviving through life to thriving in life, participating, being in life and being active and present, and fueling your bodies the way they need to be fueled, and finally getting that energy that we all want. So really that's everything. And there's always consultations available. I love to talk to people about how we can curate the plan for them. Everyone is a bio individual. Food is the only science where different foods work for different people and they oppose each other, but some people thrive on different foods, and that's amazing. So let's find out what works best for you with food, with how to manage your stress in particular, and how to encourage a healthier sleep pattern for you. And even the accountability of, seeing you in the gym, all of those things are really impactful. And I'd love to work with you. So if you have any questions, or that you don't want to share on this call, or even if you'd like to sign up for a consultation, we have so many tools like the metabolic code, where we take a look at your metabolic health and we see the baseline of where your health is on the inside. And then we do all the tune-ups and tweaks together to help you function optimally in the best way that fits for you in your life. So with that, my email is at the bottom of the screen here, brianna@the-strongside.com. And yeah, shoot me an email about any of your thoughts and, concerns, and we'll chat. But now I'm going to open it up to any questions that any of you may have. I'm going to turn off my screen here and come back to you.
Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Hey, my name is Zach. I've been eating clean for 4 weeks now, and I have a question.
Okay.
How often should I be eating if I'm getting into like eating healthy? Should I eat 2 large meals a day, or should I eat like 6 meals a day?
I think it depends on how often you are moving, especially, but bottom line is I would really recommend at least 3 times a day. You know, it really depends on the individual. If you're hungrier, then just eating 3 square meals a day, like you can absolutely add in a nutritious snack in between, one of the two. Some people thrive with just 3 meals. Some people thrive with 6 meals a day. I think someone like you who exercises quite a bit, and if your goals are to build muscle, which I think you and I have chatted about before, eating more food is definitely encouraged when you can. So even if you eat larger meals, if you're like, hey, all I can do is eat 3 meals a day, just make them large and nutritious, and definitely make sure you're getting in those calories. I don't know what your particular calorie goal is, but I think that's an experimental thing. A lot of people have different opinions about it. If you eat 3 times a day, you give time for your growth hormone to kick in and, start running when it's not always constantly fed. So that's one theory. So if you're trying to cut fat, I would definitely recommend 3 meals a day. But if you're trying to bulk up, I would encourage at least 3 to 4 meals a day. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions or just thoughts about any of this? Not everybody at once. No? Okay, that's cool. Well, what I'm going to do is no one has their video on, but I'm going to smile and take a screenshot real quick. Okay, ready? Everyone smile. Cool. I had to send Mitchell. Look, there you are. You gonna smile? Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Cool. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have for today, and I hope you guys found it helpful and useful. If you have any questions for me, please shoot me an email at brianna@the-strongside.com, and I'd love to chat with you. So thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate it, and have a beautiful weekend ahead of you. Go get some fresh air.
Thank you, Bree.
You're welcome. All right.